Hello, students. This is the video lecture, second part of the magazine industry. This is about the current stuff, okay? The last video lecture was about history. This video lecture is about new stuff. I'm recording this video lecture from my living room. I usually don't record lectures here, but here I am. There you go. TV in the background. TV in the background. It's on mute. On mute. Okay. Here we go. First thing I want to say is that even though most forms of media have transitioned to digital distribution, including magazines, print is not yet dead, okay? And when we talk about magazines, just like when we talk about newspapers, we are talking about both the online form of that media content as well as the print form, okay? So when I talk about magazines, we're talking about online and digital, but print is not yet dead. Print is not yet dead. Here I have an example, some things to show you. Advertising in print is very effective. In fact, studies show that advertisements in print that someone can hold and maybe look at again and again are actually more effective than ads that are shown online. And you can also charge a great deal of money for print ads. You can charge a great deal of money, more so than you could even charge for online stuff. And here's an example. Here's a magazine called Emmy. And this is an example of what we talked about in the last lecture. Magazines becoming very, very specialized. There are some magazines that go for a mass audience to try and reach everybody, but there are more magazines that go for a very, very specialized niche audience. This magazine, Emmy, is for a very niche audience. This is for people, I think primarily for people who vote for the Emmys, people who are in the Television Academy and actually vote for the Emmys. But look at this ad on the cover. It's a guy who's in the new Perry Mason, but look, the cover opens up and it's an ad for the TV show Cosmos. And on the back, there's another big ad for Big Little Lies, TV's best ensemble. And then if you open it up, there's so many more ads inside of here. Look, there's this insert. There's this insert paid for by, who is it? FYC, Apple TV. Apple TV has paid for this huge insert. Very, very expensive insert. All of this right here, all of this is an Apple TV ad inside this magazine. Also talking about print, magazine covers are very important. The textbook talks about magazine covers. And here we have People magazine with Olivia Newton-John. She was in Grease. Maybe you know the movie Grease. She was also in a movie called Xanadu. And they say, when it comes to magazine covers, nothing beats a dead celebrity, right? I don't mean to be callous, about Olivia Newton-John. Famous singer just passed away. But that's what they say. Nothing beats a dead celebrity as a magazine cover. And final point about the continued resiliency, is that a word, of print? Here we have some comic books. I'm a big comic book collector. We have the Star Trek. This is the original Star Trek series. I like old Star Trek. I'm not down with new Star Trek, any of that stuff, but original. I could read this online. I don't want this old Star Trek comic book online. Look, still bagged and boarded. I want the print. I want the original print, the print. And then here we have Star Wars comic book. I collect Star Wars comic books. More so than Star Trek, I collect Star Wars comic books. This is issue number 18, Empire Strikes Back. Again, I don't want this digital. I want the actual thing. Comic book collectors want the actual thing in their hand. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, go over some slides, and this is all about new stuff or current stuff in the magazine industry. Okay, this is a pretty, as of recording, when I'm recording this, this is pretty recent story from August 25th, 2022. Harry Styles is apparently the first person ever to be on the cover of every edition of Rolling Stone. I didn't know until recently. They have 14 different editions of Rolling Stone around the world, 14 different international editions. Harry Styles is on the cover of every one of those. Very popular, very popular pop star. I think it's popular with some students in the class. And according to this story, people are snapping up, right? If you're a Harry Styles fan, I don't know what they call people who are Harry Styles fans. I don't know if his fan base has a name, but people are snapping it up because they want the hard copy. Again, print still has some life left in it. Now, from the textbook, I'm just going to read a little bit from the textbook. Here's the textbook. This is from page 164 of the textbook, my hard copy of the textbook, page 164. Media critic Walter Lippmann argued that the media helped to create a pseudo environment. Okay, that's the phrase, a pseudo environment, an interpretation of reality that is often very different than reality itself. The pseudo environment depicted in today's magazines vary widely. Okay, so I think that's a good phrase, pseudo environment. They create a different and altered version of reality. Here we have the use of images from the textbook showing different kinds of pseudo environments that are created. And now I'm going to play a video, short video that talks about Photoshop manipulation, or depicts rather Photoshop manipulation of a woman, making her look stereotypically more attractive. You know, there are different standards of beauty. This shows the extent to which Photoshop manipulation can and is often done. And everything about this young woman is being altered. Everything is being altered, okay? They're changing the way her face looks, changing the way her eyes look. They even change her physical dimensions, stretching her legs out. And, you know, when I see something like this, I think when you're doing this level of Photoshop manipulation, it makes you wonder why do they need a live woman there at all? I mean, this is almost now completely artificial. Why do you need a live person at all? Couldn't they just create this entirely through pixels and Photoshop magic? Yeah, nice disclaimer right there. A global proposal to encourage the acknowledgement of Photoshop manipulation. I think that this type of altered reality, presenting pseudo environments to people like this, can affect people's body image and even their self-esteem. I think it's probably a little more common with women than with men, but men are not prone. Men are not immune to this, right? Men are not immune to this either. I think it can kind of mess with your head when you present this sort of artificial, unrealistic version of reality. Anyway, I thought that was a nice video. I wanted to show that. Okay, now I have a link here that shows top circulation magazines. This list is from May of 2022, the most recent thing I could find. I'm going to put this link in the lecture notes as well. Some good definitions here. We've got circulation, which is the number of copies of a magazine that are actually distributed to the public. The organization, the Alliance for Audited Media. I think I mentioned that when I talked about newspapers. The Alliance for Audited Media, they count the copies of a newspaper that are in circulation. They also include online viewership as well. Readership refers to the average number of people who read each magazine copy, while reach refers to all platforms and how broad of a reach, how wide of a reach a magazine brand may have, including social media, print, and digital platforms. AARP, publication for retired individuals, is and historically has been the highest circulation magazine. Not surprising, people of an older demographic perhaps are more prone to reading print, but even when your generation and the generations behind you age, it's possible that the next iteration of AARP, maybe it's a TikTok brand, maybe it's a social media brand, it's possible that AARP could continue to be at the top. And then we have another one, AARP Bulletin is number 2. And we have Costco Connection. You know, this kind of surprises people when they see it on the list. Maybe your parents or your grandparents go to Costco. Maybe you go to Costco. I don't know. This is, you know, basically, I think it's just ads and coupons for stuff at Costco, but this actually does count as the number 3 circulation magazine in the United States, Costco Connection. And now we have Better Homes and Gardens. Some statistics here about Better Homes and Gardens. Game Informer. I think this is associated with GameStop. I don't know. You know, I don't know exactly, but Game Informer. Again, this is another specialized magazine, very specialized, referring to people who play video games. And then finally, we have People magazine at number 6. Okay, I have two slides or a few slides about other magazines that weren't on that list, but I think are worth talking about. Sports Illustrated, been around for decades, since 1954. Many magazines like Sports Illustrated have transitioned from being just a simple print publication to being a brand that encompasses many things. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue is typically the top selling issue of the year. Here we have a photo of one of the women that was on the cover of the 2022 swimsuit issue. And I realized that, there was an image of Kim Kardashian in the last video, and now we have here again. When I update these video lectures in the future, I should remove Kim Kardashian. I think she's gotten enough attention. There were actually 4 different women that were featured on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. We have the singer Sierra, Yumi Nu, I think that's how you say her name, a Japanese Dutch recording artist. This got a lot of attention because she's a plus size model. People thought, oh, isn't that very inclusive? We have a plus size model. So on the one hand, maybe it's positive, maybe it's showing body positivity. But then on the other hand, you could say, you're still objectifying women. Why are women reduced to their physical attributes to begin with? And then, oh yeah, that's the singer Sierra. And that's Mae Musk right there. An older, let's say mature model. That's actually Elon Musk's mother right there. She was also featured on the cover. And this cracks me up. This always makes me laugh. One of the top selling magazines in the United States is a magazine devoted to another form of media, TV Guide. Okay, it's a magazine that tells you what is on TV, another form of media. It's been around for decades. There's many, many editions. Now, when I was growing up, TV Guide would actually list what was on each channel, because you could do that in the pre-cable era. You could actually list what is on every channel. When we talk about television, we'll come back to this theme, but there's just been an explosion of cable channels beginning in about the 1980s, an explosion of cable channels, and now there is such an explosion of online viewing and all the streaming platforms that there's no way one print publication can tell you what's on every channel. So they do kind of featured articles about some key shows to be watching. And here we have that House of the Dragon. Okay. Okay, now I grabbed this presentation online. This is a consulting company called Innovation, and they have a presentation about how magazines can continue to make money. They talk specifically about some things from the year 2021, and I just grabbed a couple of the slides from that. They're talking about new revenue streams that will be important in the future. D2C stands for direct to consumer. The idea here is that magazines, according to this media consulting company, right? According to this media consulting company, magazines should move away from relying upon advertising and find ways to get money directly from the consumer without relying on advertising. Digital subscriptions, where you pay directly to get a digital version of the magazine, that's growing. We're seeing that in every form of media. Every form of media is moving to some type of digital subscription model, where you maybe don't even own an actual media artifact. You don't own a physical thing. Even with video games, you no longer own like a disc or a cartridge or something like that. You get everything online, and you basically rent access to that content. Same with music. People don't have CDs or vinyl records. I have vinyl, but I'm an exception. Now it's just, you get it streaming and you pay some type of access to it. That's what we're seeing as well with magazines. Another trend from the direct-to-consumer model is memberships, clubs, and partnerships, right? Magazines can form specialized clubs. Here we have an example, Crochet Magazine. Again, this is an example of a specialized type of publication, has a club where they collect patterns. You get new patterns to crochet with. And Parents Magazine had a club, Inspire Kids to Read, 100 books to inspire kids, something that was made available to people in the Parents Magazine Club. E-commerce, selling directly to the consumer. The magazine now becomes essentially a store selling products to the consumer. And I'm just going to go quickly through these because I don't have a lot to say about them, but one of the direct-to-consumer models is to get into e-learning. Again, this is the media consulting company advocating this. Sponsoring events, right? The magazine as a brand becomes an event planner, an event promoter, and recurring revenue. I think what recurring revenue means, it's related to e-commerce, but I think the idea here is people don't just buy one thing. You want them to buy continual things. You want them to be a regular consumer and a regular purchaser of your product. With something like health and wellness products, you know, maybe you need those more and more. Maybe you get a cream or a lotion. You're going to need that again in a month or 2 months or something. So this media consulting company is advocating recurring revenue and setting up some type of model for recurring revenue. All right, now I'm going to conclude with a couple of slides from the Magazine Media Fact Book. This is put out by the Association of Magazine Media. Okay, this is a trade organization devoted to the magazine industry, and every form of media, every particular industry will tell you that they are the greatest form of media out there. Radio says that, television says that, print says that, magazines say that. The reason they do that is these different media industries are in competition with one another for advertising dollars. Okay, even though, you know, maybe we're trying to move away from advertising as the dominant revenue stream, they are competing with one another. A lot of the advertising dollars are going to online, controlled mainly by Google and Facebook, but the industries are still competing with one another, and they will tell you, every industry will tell you they are the greatest form of media. You have to take all of this with a grain of salt. Okay, it is in the magazine industry's best interest to tell you that they are the greatest form of media. Keep that in mind. Okay, you have to take something with context. Why are they telling you this, and who is telling you this? Because they are in competition with one another. Let's see what we have here. Okay, now this is showing the total brand audience, showing an actual growth from 2019 to 2020. We're looking at December 2019 compared to December 2020, 1.51 billion. That's what that means. Grew to 1.56 billion. And if you compare these, you know, if 46% of readership was in the print and digital editions, now they're saying it's actually only 41%. And look at this, 40%. Wow, that is a huge statistic. 40% people are consuming their magazine content through some type of mobile web application. And then we also have video content as well. Now I'm going to minimize my screen here for a minute here. The magazine industry right here with this slide, they are telling you that the top 25 magazines reach more adults than the top 25 primetime TV shows. I repeat, the top 25 magazines reach more adults than the top 25 primetime TV shows. And again, this is the magazine industry telling you this. And we have some different demographic breakdowns here, 18 to 34, 18 to 49, that's an age range. We're also looking at household income, particularly with household earning more than $100,000 per year. And they're saying that magazines actually do much better than television. Magazines are in blue there. Now here, I thought this was interesting. What the magazine industry here is saying is that people who are heavy magazine readers are more likely to engage in brand conversations. You probably know the term influencer, right? We associate this with social media. Magazines are saying that their readers are even bigger and better influencers, okay? That people who read magazines are more likely to engage in conversation about brands, hopefully brands such as the magazine. And here we have another graphic showing that magazines and websites combined increase ad effectiveness. Again, this gets back to the theme of the magazine industry trying to persuade advertisers to continue to purchase space in their product, even though we have this increased move towards online forms of distribution. And what this chart shows here, or this graphic rather, is that we have different age groups: 18 to 34, 18 to 54. I'm still here, barely here. I'm barely in here, and very soon I'll be over here. But one more year, then I'll be over here. And for people who read a magazine only, there's a certain ad effectiveness. When you combine that with websites, it goes up. The black shows the percentage of the audience that actually took some action because of the ad. The blue is people who noticed the ad. And obviously, people who noticed the ad, that is a larger percentage than people who actually took some action. But wow, this is pretty amazing for these older demographic. 30% of people who saw an ad took some action to become of it. That's a pretty big statistic. All right, that's it. That's it. That's the lecture.